All right, hi guys. So today we are going to work on creating our piece of rodeo art for this year. And we are gonna do a really cool drawing using a scarecrow and a farm landscape. So let's talk about that for a minute. So we've gone over in the past that landscapes have three parts to them. They have a background, they have a middle ground, and they have a foreground. The background would be the area in your picture that is furthest away from you. It's usually at the top of your paper. The middle ground is the area that's in the middle, and the foreground is the area that's closest to you, and it's usually the biggest. So what we're gonna do today is start by drawing our foreground first and then adding our background and our middle ground into it after. Because our foreground is gonna be really, really large in our picture, we wanna go ahead and take care of that first, okay? So our scarecrow is gonna be really cute. He's gonna be really scary if you want him to be. So let's go ahead and start working on it. So you're gonna need a couple things. You're gonna need a plain white sheet of paper. And I have turned mine horizontally, meaning the long sides of the paper are going side to side. You're also gonna need a pencil, a black marker, and some colored pencils. So I'm gonna move my black marker out of the way and we will go ahead and start with my scarecrow. Now, the first part that we're gonna work on is his face, his head area. So we're gonna put that about right here in our picture area, our picture plane. So if you wanna start by taking your pencil and you wanna draw lightly, so if you mess up, you can erase it. And I'm gonna draw a little darker just so you can see it. But we're gonna start by drawing a curved line, almost like a smiley face. And it's okay if yours is big. That's good, we want it to be big, but don't make it too big. So there's my curved line. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna draw the rest of his body while I have it here. Now our scarecrow is gonna be wearing a scarf, so I'm gonna go ahead and draw that in, and I'm just gonna add it to the bottom of his face right here. So I'm gonna come out with a curved line that kind of looks like this, and then I'm gonna finish that curved line and bring it back around so it looks like it's wrapped around his neck. Now on this side, since he's wearing a scarf, he's got a little bit that hangs off, so I'm gonna make a little knot, and then I'm gonna make the parts of my scarf that are hanging down. Okay, now we're gonna work on his body. So on the left side, coming off of his scarf, I'm gonna draw a straight line. And then I'm gonna draw another straight line down. This will be his arm, and then you're gonna come back. You don't wanna go all the way to the scarf because then we're gonna go all the way straight down to the bottom of the paper. And that's his arm. And then you can go ahead and draw his stick arm. Now let's move on to the other side and do the same thing. So right here, because the knot of his scarf is hiding part of his arm, we're not gonna see all of it. So we're just gonna come over here, go all the way to the edge. You might have a little bit more space than I do, but I drew my scarf a little larger than normal. So I'm gonna come down. And then I'm gonna finish with the rest of his body and come down. Now since I'm down here, I'm gonna go ahead and add some patches to his shirt. You can just draw parts of the patches. And then because it's stitched, we're just gonna put little parallel lines. And you can put decorations on those patches later, kind of like it's different type of fabric. Okay, so now let's jump up to his face. If we want to go ahead, we're going to give him a hat to finish off his head, and then we'll work on adding his facial features. So in this big open space right here, we're going to put the bottom of his hat. So you want to come off a little bit to the side and just make some type of curvy line. You don't want it to be too bumpy, but just a nice little smooth wave. And then we're going to come up like this, and then bring it all the way over, and this is going to be the brim of his hat. And then we'll make the top part, or the portion that we can see. Because his face is so large, some of it is going to come off the edge of the paper. So you don't have to try and make his hat super small to fit in that space. It's okay if part of our drawing goes off the paper. That's what makes it awesome. So we're going to go up, and see, part of mine comes down so you can't even see the top. We'll go up on the other side too. And then I'm going to give him, maybe he's got a little ribbon attached to his, and then we'll make it a little knot. Okay, now I'm gonna add some patches to his hat because he's old, you know, he was just put together with different pieces of cloth. Now we can work on his face. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna draw 2 circles for his eyes. And his eyes, because he's a scarecrow, are gonna be made out of buttons. So inside those circles, I'm gonna draw 4 tiny circles for the buttonholes and connect them with 2 lines that cross. And then I'm gonna draw 2 larger circles around those. And then I'm gonna add just a little bit around the eye like this. Now I can see that I made mine a lot larger than I normally would have, but that's okay. Then we're gonna give him a nose. Maybe he's got a triangle patch nose. And his big old smile. Now we're gonna add some details. And maybe under his eyes, he has some little stitches. If you want to give him eyebrows, you can. You don't have to though. All right, next let's draw some hair, his straw hair. So for that, it's very simple. You're just gonna draw some lines that come off, and then you might want to have some that go a little crazy in some different directions. That'll make it a little more interesting to look at. And our scarecrow is done. So let's go ahead now and add our background. So we need to give him a horizon line, which is the place where the sky and the ground meet. So back here, starting on one side, you're going to draw a line. It can be straight or it can have a little curve to it. Let's go ahead and draw a barn back here, way off in the distance. So it's gonna be kind of small. So we're gonna start by drawing 3 vertical lines. And it's okay if you can't see all of them because your scarecrow is so big in the picture, he's taking up all this space. We're gonna connect these 2 vertical lines with an upside down triangle to make the roof. And then over here, we're gonna make a diagonal line and then connect those 2. And then we're gonna connect these 2 corners. And then you can draw the door of your barn. Remember, it's a barn, so the door is a little bit larger than normal. Maybe there's an X in the middle. Maybe there's a window up on top. I'm gonna draw my wood planks in the side of my barn. And then maybe over here on the side, there is a fence. So I'm gonna draw some fence posts. And then you can connect those with horizontal lines. If you have room and you want to put some clouds in your sky, you can. You don't have to. So we have our background and we have our foreground. And this area behind our scarecrow is going to be the grass area, or where the crops are growing on our farm. So if you want to draw a little bit of a crop, you can. Since we're in fall now, I think I'm going to draw some pumpkins. So I'm going to draw some tiny pumpkins. You don't want them to be too big. You don't want to have just one, so maybe we'll add 2 more. Three is always a good number. These are the little pumpkin vines that are coming out of the ground. And maybe there's a little grass growing. And that looks about right. So we've now drawn our scarecrow. Your next 2 steps will be to take your black marker and to very carefully trace over all the lines that you drew. Everything, your scarecrow, the background, the crops, everything. So you're left with a basic black line drawing. Once you've done that, if you can still see any of the pencil, you can take your eraser and you can erase that pencil. And then you'll be left with something that looks like this. Now, you see my black lines. You can even go in and add some decoration. You can see I decorated my scarf. I made it plaid. I put some polka dots in my patches. Once you've got a black line drawing, you can then take some colored pencils and you can start coloring in all of your details. I haven't finished yet with mine. If you don't have colored pencils, you can use crayons, you can use markers. I personally would use colored pencils on this, but I understand if you don't have any at home. You just use what you have, okay? Now I can't wait to see what your scarecrow drawing looks like. So when you finish, you make sure you take a picture of it and you submit it using the blue submit button and send it to me. Good luck.